Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today we'll be speaking with the 2019 NPC Masters Bikini 35 and up overall champion who has her bachelor's degree in retail fashion merchandising from Bradley University and worked in the world of corporate buying for 5 years before becoming a stay-at-home mom to her 3 daughters. This competitor starting her bodybuilding journey in 2017 at 36 years old, and she competed in 5 shows before earning her pro card and then making her pro debut at Pacific USA's in 2019. Hopefully I got that all right. We'll of course be talking more about her journey. So welcome to the show, Brooke Petry. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Celeste. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited. And I got to ask if there's any ritual you have or something you do or think about right before your heel hits the stage.
Right before my heel hits the stage, I always say a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I ask God just to help calm my nerves, when I first started competing. And even still, nerves play a big role in my presentation on stage. I remember my first show, I couldn't even smile. Like my smile was quivering so badly. So I do, I say a little prayer, and then it helps me also just to, I think everyone does this, to just sort of visualize yourself like doing your routine and just being successful on stage. And then I try to sort of humanize the judges, if you will. Like, I think sometimes we make them so big and it's just so scary out there. And if I can just remember, like, they're people too, and they're here to do their job. And I'm up there just to showcase what I've worked on so hard. So it's very mental right before you get on stage, and there's not a lot of time for all of that. But yeah, I say a little prayer, and I just kind of like try to get my mind, where it needs to be so that I can sort of do my best when I'm on the stage.
I think that's so awesome. And I love that you are vulnerable enough to share that you still get nervous. It's good to calm yourself down, visualize those things that you do as an amateur still support you as a pro. And I really like your tip about humanizing the judges. And I think that's very helpful for listeners who might be worried about what do you do when you stand up there, especially in front of those judges that everybody knows their name and they're making the big decisions. It can be confronting.
Right. So, and I also don't pay attention. I don't think I've ever actually seen anybody in the crowd when I'm on the stage. It's very, you just sort of get in a zone. I can't really explain it, I guess, unless you've been on stage and you know the feeling. I make eye contact with the judges, but I've never really been nervous by all the people out there. It's very much just like, am I going to do this right? Are the judges going to accept what I'm doing? So
yeah, totally understand that. I feel like I notice people when I'm like lined up to go on stage in the crowd, and then sometimes in like when you're standing up there holding your pose for so long and you like glance up for a second because you're quivering like your eyes and your cheeks, so you're like, okay, change something.
Yeah.
And I'll notice the crowd, but you're right, it's not like an overwhelming thing of like, oh my gosh, there's a big crowd and there's people and they're all watching, because you're really like you said, in the zone is a great way of putting it.
Right.
So you said that you also like to go up there, that you're putting in the work all year round, and then you get to show it off on stage, and your body has really evolved a lot over the years. I was, of course, looking through NPC News Online, and I've noticed so much muscle development, and it's been really cool to see. And then I went through your Instagram, of course, and I was hoping you could share what you felt has attributed to your growth year after year.
Well, so that will be a loaded answer, but I will say I started bodybuilding in 2017. So when you go from like not lifting weights to all of a sudden like lifting weights and lifting them regularly and overloading, like that first year, first 2 years, like you're going to see some major gains. Like if you're doing it right and you're following your nutrition, and like it does sort of begin to taper off after those 2 years. So, you know, I'm still gaining, trying to, and making improvements, but I think, you know, if you start bodybuilding, you really need to take advantage of those first couple of years, because you can make some crazy gains. And I think that's what you see when you look at like my Instagram. I was very thin, like before I started, and I always ate healthy, and I followed some sort of fitness routine. At my house, actually, I always would lift like 5-pound or 8-pound weights, or you know, I had a Fitbit at the time, so my thing was like trying to compete to get the most steps with, you know, whoever I was like connected with. So I did a lot of cardio, and I ate very clean, but I also didn't eat a lot of carbohydrates. So, you know, my body fat and my muscle size is, you know, not there.
Yeah, you had like those newbie gains, and that was because you also knew what to do. You were working hard in the gym, you were aligning your nutrition to those goals as well. Now, were you working with a coach from the very beginning?
Yeah. So in 2017, that was the first time I went to a gym. My husband actually decided to start working out at a gym, I'm sorry, and with a personal trainer. And, you know, he started doing that, and I got a little like jealous, like I wanted to get in on this, you know, like, so I started training there as well. And eventually I got on like a 2 or 3 times a week with the trainer. It was a small gym, they owned it. And I was asked if I would be interested in competing. And honestly, before that mention, like I didn't even know what it was. So someone had mentioned I'd be good at it, I should do it. So, you know, I did a little bit of research, saw, you know, some of the athletes, and I was, you know, really intrigued by this. Like, yeah, of course I want to look like that. So, you know, when someone puts a little bit of faith in you too, like says, oh, I think you could do this, or believes in you, it kind of pushes you towards that even more. At least for me, it does. So, yeah, so I started working towards it. We aimed for, let's see, so I started training in like April of 2017, and we aimed for a local show in November of 2017.
That's amazing. Now, did you start with like a building phase, or did you just go straight into what felt like a prep?
I think I went straight. I wasn't real knowledgeable about what I was doing at the time. I was just following instructions, but yeah, it sort of felt like a prep. So for the first time ever, I was put on like a meal plan, and it was sort of, you know, when you get a new coach, it's trial and error to begin with. And I remember my coach put me on a plan, and, you know, my calories were probably pretty low at the time. And based on like my body size too, the meal plan that he gave me to begin with, I lost 2 pounds that first week. So we, you know, increased the food, and we just went from there. So yeah, I was always on a meal plan and sort of a training split. And I just really enjoyed the structure of it. I'm a very disciplined person. So this like ticked all my boxes, you know, like it's like I needed something. I knew I had a passion for something. This sort of put a purpose behind it.
I love that. I think it's really cool when you see the purpose, you see the passion, and you have both, and they come together to create the result that you ultimately want. So walk us through your first show. Like, what was that experience like, and how did you know you wanted to keep going?
So the first show, I won. So I won the Masters, and then I placed, I was top 5 in every category, in open and novice. And then, you know, I won the Masters, but I remember, and this sounds very horrible, because I think some people, you know, they work really hard for this, but I wanted to win the whole show. So the fact that I only won Masters, like at that time, I didn't appreciate that as much as I probably should. I remember my coach being like, Brooke, you won, like you like that's the overall. And, you know, I was mad that I didn't win the overall, you know, the open. So that lit a little bit of a fire in me, you know, just I wanted to win an open show, so it kind of pushed me to keep going. So the next show I did after that was the Illinois State, and I won the Masters in that as well. And I got first in my class in open, so a little better. And I just sort of progressed from there. And I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself. Is that what you're asking?
Oh
as far
no.
as my
Yeah,
first
let's
show?
go. Let's go through it. Keep going.
Okay, so then let's see. After Illinois State, my first national show was Masters, Master Teen and Masters Nationals, and I got fourth place there. So it was again a first call. So all of these, it was just kept feeding the fire in me. So I was real fired up. And a couple months later, we went to USA in Vegas, and I got fifth there. So and I was thrilled. Like, I had been told, like, I'd be lucky to get, top 10. This is a really big show. So fifth place, like, I was on cloud nine. I was thrilled. And so I was just kind of riding the wave of all of this. And then from there, let's see, that would have been July 2018. And so then I didn't compete again until early the next year in 2019. We just kept working and building. And I guess I'll just take you through I only have a couple more shows before I went pro. So then I did the NPC Mighty Muscle on the Mississippi. That was in early 2019. And I won everything at that show. So I got what I came for. I won the Masters, the Open, and then I got, I think I won like Best Symmetry in the show, some award, like side award like that. And from there we went on to Universe, where, as you introduced, I earned my pro card in the Masters 35. So yeah.
What a journey. What a journey. Because, I think sometimes people do get in their heads, whether it's because they won or they didn't win everything they wanted or they lost, and that can dictate how they pursue their goals moving forward. And you had a really successful start, and that momentum continued to build for you, it sounds like. So what was some of the feedback that you were getting at these shows that ultimately led you to, one, achieving your first goal of winning a whole show in, I believe it was Open and Masters, right?
Yeah.
And then ultimately what led you to your pro card?
Okay, so the feedback that I was getting regularly that I think, helps kind of keep me going. I had a great posing coach to begin with. So my training and prep coach and my posing coach were a husband and wife team, Dan and Claudia Stevens. They owned the gym that I still work out today at, and they just really set me up well to succeed in this sport. Claudia taught me how to pose, how to have stage presence, and I didn't get it right away. Like, I have some horrible original posing videos, but they really kind of helped instill some confidence in me, which is so important, to keep going. So even though I can look back and be like, cringe at what I see, like, I had confidence that came from the inside, and that's where it has to come from, because that's what shows up. I remember the day that I won my pro card at Universe, like, I just knew, like, there was just a feeling, and I don't know if this always happens, but, like, in the hotel room, I'm practicing posing and everything, and I just felt like it was my time, and I had that confidence, and on stage, like, it just translated on stage. And so I think having that posing and that stage presence, and that was some of the feedback that I did get, especially in the early NPC shows, that I had a good look, and that my posing was good and I had potential. Some of the growth feedback that I got was always that I was too small, that I needed to build up my glutes, and I always often got just overall size, because I guess I am a small person, compared to some of these top athletes. And especially I'm finding that in the pro league, NPC, like you said, I had a great run, and it was it's what got me really hooked on the sport, because I won't lie, I love to win. But I also have a deep passion and a deep discipline, and I love having purpose, and I love routine, and just all of these things really feed the sport. So in the pro league, I haven't won, and that's okay. I haven't stopped either. I know what I need to do. I know I need to grow, and there's a lot I have to learn too. I need experience on stage, and it's time, and if you don't love the process, you're not going to stick with it. So I've thought about it a lot, and like, I know that if I didn't even compete on this stage, I would still do this. So, that's something that is valuable, that's going to keep me going. So no matter what, like, I love doing this. So the stage is just like the test, the bonus, where I can like get up and, get a little validation if that's what you need, but just also, present what you've done and see what you need to do next, get some feedback. So.
Absolutely. Like, you can be really proud of how far you've come, and you can be proud of the steps that you're taking, and you can be proud of the result. But ultimately, to continue to take those steps, you also need the passion or the love for the sport.
Right.
So what is it that got you into it in the first place? Like, why did you decide, I want to start bodybuilding?
Well, a friend of mine, when I started, I don't even know if I had started going to the gym yet. I'm trying to remember like how all of this started. It was very much by accident. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I want to be a bodybuilder. I'm going to go out and I'm going to, find a coach in a gym and do all the things. Like, acquaintance of mine had asked, oh, are you going to start competing? And I didn't even really know what she meant, but I guess if you say competing and you're in the industry, we know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to be competing? I had an Instagram at the time, and I think maybe I had posted like a little selfie after working out, and, I was like, oh, I don't know. And, I looked into it a little bit, and learned, I think I was looking at like Pinterest, like different bodybuilder diets or something, and like, oh, okay. I had no idea about it though. And then, like I said, when I started going to Premier Fitness, the gym where I still am, Dan and Claudia Stevens owned it at the time. I got on the phone with Claudia, to see if it was something I'd be interested in. She kind of explained it to me. She explained like that it's not easy, and I can't remember exactly how the phone call went, but I do remember thinking like, okay, this is a challenge. Like, I'm up for it. There's no like, you're not going to tell me the challenges of it and I'm going to be talked out of this. Like, now I want to do it. So, really, that's what it was, just like hearing from someone else, and then, learning a little bit more on a phone call, and then just diving in, like, truly.
Sometimes that's all you got to do, right? If we look into it too much or spend too much time on something, we can start to doubt ourselves or talk ourselves out of it, rather than just going for it.
Oh, definitely.
We want to. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you've got like, and this is one of the biggest things that I've learned by doing this, is just like, if you're afraid of something, or if like something's holding you back, like, you definitely need to do that. I'm like, by nature, I'm kind of a shy person. I'm not like, I don't know. I keep just a few people, close and whatever. And so like getting on stage and like doing photo shoots, or like, getting out into this big social circle, that's been challenging for me, let alone the changes that I've had to purposely step into with my body. It's like, as far as gaining weight, and I'm so happy that I have done all of these things. But in the beginning, like, these were really scary things for me. And I know that sounds kind of trivial, there's much bigger problems in the world, but, just from like a personal standpoint, like, these were things that I'd never done, so it was very much stepping outside of the box to try something new, and getting into this whole new world, that was completely new to me. I'm a mom of 3 young kids, and as scary as it was, it also sort of gave me this new purpose and this new drive in my life. And I'm truly so thankful that I found this. It's like one of the greatest joys in my life.
Wow. I love how you said it's given you new drive and purpose. And I think it's important to point out like some of the, well, a lot of bodybuilding is very challenging, right? And yes, it's a challenge we choose. So it can seem or appear to be trivial in comparison to challenges we don't choose, like loss and grief
Right.
or trauma, those types of things. But it's still hard, right? And we're still choosing it. So I'm really glad that you said that and that you pointed that out, because whenever we commit to something where we're trying to grow or be better, it should challenge us in some ways. It should make us have to overcome or learn something new. And it sounds like for you, it really gave you some insight into yourself and maybe even enhanced your identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I don't think I realized what I was capable of, and I didn't really have a vision for it either. So this just gave me something to work towards, and it just kept rewarding me for, the work that I was doing.
Now, are you, I'm pretty sure you're not. So let's go through how you decided to transition coaches and how that went for you because of that close relationship that you had.
Sure. So I had a great relationship with my original coaches, and I think it was around 2020, they sold the gym and they sort of went a different direction. They actually moved out to Vegas, ironically, and they're no longer coaching. They're sort of doing something different now. So I also took 2020 off at that point in time. I always still worked out. I still, sort of followed the same eating plan, but I wasn't like checking in with a coach, and I didn't have any plans to compete. And it sort of went that way for 2020 and the end of 2019, I think that's how it was, all of 2020. And then in early 2021, I was like, I got to figure this out. Like, I want to do this again. I want to like compete. I just need to find a coach. And, I'd been looking, I follow like a bunch of people, a bunch of athletes on Instagram. And so, I'd kind of see like who was connected to what coach. And obviously Ashley Kaltwasser, I'm following her, so I know who her coach is. And I started following Coach Adam with Team Elite Physique. And I just really liked his like philosophy and his approach to training and nutrition. And there's a lot of coaches who push like bulking and stuff. And I know everybody's different, but like for me, that was sort of a turnoff for how I wanted to prep, because I did this. Part of this was like very much like I do this to feel good about myself, and I want to feel good year round. And so like I was always a little nervous about these coaches who would push the bulking, and I knew Adam didn't have that philosophy, so I liked that, and I liked he's successful. His athletes are successful. I like his mindset. I like I don't know. I liked his approach, and so I reached out to him. I think I sent him like, he did one of those like those assessments where he sent like some photos or whatever, and kind of told me what, he thought my look needed or what I needed to work on. And I decided I wanted to work with him. So he said he was available, and it was in, I want to say May or early June of last year that I started working with Adam.
That's really cool. I love.
Yeah, and I still have I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I still have a good relationship with my former coach, and he's just not coaching anymore. So.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. And I really like how you were able to find someone whose philosophy aligned with yours. And especially how you handled that transition, like knowing your coaches were going to be stopping and you still continued your lifestyle and really enjoyed this. And found a way to make it work, and you guys got to work, and you obviously were very successful from there on as well. So because you stepped on so many different national stages along the way, I was curious if this was strategic or if you were just doing it to see if you could get that pro card.
As far as like the different stages that I chose to compete at?
Yes.
I mean, there was definitely some strategy to it. My first national stage was the Masters, so we knew that I'd been successful. I don't think I lost them. I ever didn't get an overall in Masters, so we thought that was a really solid first choice. So we did that to kind of test out the waters on a national stage, and I got fourth. So we USA's, I don't know. I think it was just a big show. I don't know that there was any particular strategy behind that one. And then maybe to get in front of Sandy. And then let's see, after that, Universe East Coast show. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of strategy. I guess Universe has a Masters pro card as well. So there was that. Which is what I ended up getting. So yeah.
Nice. Okay. So you did end up making your pro debut 1 month after earning your pro card. So was this something the judges recommended that you did, or was this just for you to see how you stacked up, or just something you wanted to do?
I think this wasn't the judge. This wasn't a thing from the judges. I think it was a little bit of like, I felt like I just got my pro card. I needed to like get on the pro stage right away, like while I'm still like fresh with competing. I don't know, just to get some direction, and to be honest with you, it's a good thing I did, because I went into that show pretty overconfident. I don't think I realized like what, I'd won so much that like when I moved to IFBB and, competed there, I had a lot of confidence, and I was like, oh, at least I'll get something in first call outs. And that is not how it works. So it was very eye-opening for me. And I will say I was very proud of, at the time, I was very proud of like what I brought to the stage. I felt very confident up there. Looking back, I'm like, aye, Brooke. I can, I had so much growing to do, so much to learn. I was such a newbie, but like, yeah, I wanted to jump right in, and we did. And like I said, I'm glad I did. I'm glad that first, when you first go from NPC to IFBB, and I told everybody, one thing that nobody ever like prepared me for or told me was like how different the experience is. When I checked in for Pacific Pro, it was like, I felt like royalty, like the way that you're treated as a pro. Not that you're treated poorly in the NPCs. There's just so much fewer people competing in IFBB, and it was so like personal. The check-ins, like, I don't know. It felt good. It felt like, wow, this is awesome. I'm a pro now. It felt really good. So that's something that's really cool when you do go from NPC to IFBB.
That is awesome. Is there anything else you wish you had known before getting into the sport, or before going pro?
No, I think maybe just, and you just learn this sort of stuff with experience, just that it's okay to lose. Like, it's okay to not win. I won't say to lose. It's okay to not win. Like, this is not, and it's cliche, but it's not a sprint. It is a marathon. Like, are you doing it to win and then you're just going to stop? No, like every time you like do a show, whether you win or however you place, like you're always then looking to what's next. Like, how can I improve? I don't care if you win the show, any show I've won, still, it's always been like, what can we improve on? What can we do better next time? So it's not, there shouldn't be this rush. First of all, this rush to turn pro. And second of all, a rush, like once you are pro, to like win a show and get to the Olympia. Just like enjoy the process. And I try, one thing I try to do regularly for myself is just to like track my progress, to like look back, you know, because sometimes it's just like, I'm not winning, you know, or I'm not, you know, am I progressing? And like, you got to, like, people take photos. Like, I know if we're all athletes and we're checking in, we're taking them, but like, it really, it's something to look back and compare and see what you've done, and then just be proud of yourself, because this is your journey. It's not anybody else's. You're going to be better than yourself. You know, I can't, even if I have my best body, I can't beat somebody else's best body. You know what I mean? Like, if we both put our best bodies up there, there's going to be a preference for one or the other. It doesn't mean necessarily one's better than the other. And, you know, you get on different stages on different sides of the country, and I feel like there's a different look as well. I don't know if anybody else has ever felt that, but I've seen a little bit of that too. So all you can do is just the best that you can, you know, like it's too much to worry about all the variables that, you know, who's showing up and how they're going to be, and are my glutes bigger or what, you know. It's just, you just do the best you can, and you keep going and getting better yourself.
Absolutely. And I think some people hear that and they think, well, what if they never pick me? What if I never win, or my body's never good enough compared to someone else's best shape? And there's some people who may never win, right? Like, there's some people who may not ever place first, but they do it because they love it, or they want to keep going or growing in a particular way. And I have always appreciated, and you've mentioned it on here already, like how committed you are to loving the journey and bringing passion into it. And I was hoping you might share what your why is.
I really love to motivate people. I love to encourage people. I have this, like, I don't know, I have this thing in me where it's like, if I think I can, I know I can. Like, and I feel like it's so powerful once you realize that your mind is so much stronger than your body. And I wish I could just like transfer that to other people. Like, I see some people struggling, and I've had people ask me, you know, like how to get in shape, how to lose weight, how to this or that. And like, before all the things that you do and how hard you work in the gym and how you diet, like there's this mental thing that has to click. Like, I know I can do it. And once that's happened for somebody, you know it, because they're doing some research. They're seeking out answers. They're not just like, you know, coming to somebody and like getting a plan and then just like hanging on by a thread and just checking in and seeing, you know, did I do it right? Like, there's a passion that comes in when you realize that you're capable of it. When you realize that if you can achieve whatever your mind can conceive. That's so cliche. I'm speaking in so many cliches today, but like,
we love
this
it.
is just how I operate. It's just, it's so mental. I can't even remember what your original question is. Did I go off?
No, you're good. You're more than good. I was asking about your why, and it sounds like it's motivating people and proving to yourself that you can do what you believe you can do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Now, you've given some great tips already, and on your Instagram, there's lots of awesome ideas like breaking a gallon into 4 small water bottles, or making meal prep easier, or creating yummy recipes. And I think it's helpful for anybody, regardless of where they're at in their journey, to learn new ways to experiment or make things more satisfying, or work towards the goals that they have, and be part of their family and support their family values as well, while learning to live like a bodybuilder. So do you have any other helpful tips or things that you think would be beneficial for people listening, whether that's in meal prep or supporting their goals or family, anything like that?
Sorry, my dog just
It's okay.
You have to, whatever you do, you have to enjoy it. So, you know, I've seen like my husband, for instance, has gone on like meal plans and whatever, and you can get really rigid and you can eat like chicken and potatoes and egg whites and oatmeal and stuff. But like, if you don't enjoy your food, you're not going to stick with it. So I always encourage people to like, you know, maybe start a little bit like macro-ish. So like if you have a meal plan, for instance, and you just are super bored with all the food. I'm sorry, hang on a second.
Okay.
You're super bored with all of your food, you know, switch it up a bit. Try a different protein. There's lots of great like sugar-free sauces out there. Try a different carb source, you know, whatever it is. But like, there's options, and I'm sure you can find somebody to like, you know, help you differentiate that a little bit. But you definitely shouldn't be miserable. Like I eat the same thing pretty much every day, but I really enjoy it, you know. And I guess the second tip to go along with that then would be, you got to give yourself a little bit of time to adjust. So just like if you're always eating like junk food and sugar, that's what your body's going to crave. So if you want to eat healthier, you're going to have to be a little bit patient with yourself. It's sort of like in the gym, you have to kind of struggle through it a little bit. But I promise, like once you start eating like clean, whole, healthy foods, like that's what your body's going to want. And that's what you're going to feel so good, you know, that you'd rather eat your home prepped foods than, you know, go get fast food. Like I would so much rather eat my own food than pick up something at a fast food place, even a salad, you know, like, and then meal prep companies as well. Those are really helpful. So if you're not really sure, you want to try like a variety, like I know I don't use one personally, but I know that you can like kind of put in your macros and sort of figure out, get some different options.
Definitely. Or buy in bulk, like buy pre-made chicken and turkey and all that in bulk. It's great.
Right.
I know some people are like, with the way these gas prices are set up right now, they'd rather just have someone do all the cooking for them and order meal prep, because then they don't have to buy it, drive to the store, buy it, and cook it. And I mean, everything's up in price anyway, but a lot of the meal prep companies kind of nice because it takes the work of cooking out of it.
Oh, for sure. Like I actually probably should look into that a little bit more. I'm waiting for the day when my kids all ask me for like chicken rice and asparagus for dinner, and I can just make one thing every night. But that's not the case right now. So, yeah.
So that's a great topic right there. But before I ask you about that, I think discipline is one of your best and most supportive characteristics, and you've identified that in yourself as well. So I was curious if you've always had it or if bodybuilding helped you develop it.
No, I've definitely always had this. I can't remember not being like from elementary school with my homework. Like I've just always been like, it's a blessing and a curse, but like I've always just, you know, wanted to be like right between the lines and like get it done just right, you know, everything in a box. So yeah, no, that's definitely been with me. And I guess like one of the things I do like about bodybuilding is it helps make that more of a strength, because I think sometimes that can become your weakness, you know, if you get too rigid with things. Bodybuilding is very rigid, but like, I guess it just, how do I explain this? I guess it puts purpose behind it and helps me, I don't know, dial that in for a purpose, I guess, if that makes sense.
I often feel, and I usually will say and express to people, especially in this community, that I think a lot of our best strengths can be some of our biggest weaknesses, like the ability to, let's say, plan ahead or work towards a goal or be disciplined can show up in not so great ways. And
Right.
I talked about that a little bit on Bikini and the Brain podcast on my second episode on it. So if you guys are listening to this and you want to wait until after you finish listening to this to go listen to that episode, I would recommend it, because I kind of talk about some of the traits of bodybuilders, or at least what I've seen. And Yeah, I think it's important that we channel it in the right way. And sometimes being disciplined also means knowing it's okay to take a break, to reset or deload or relax. And that can be hard. Even if we know it supports our longevity, it can be really hard to learn that. And especially if we think, oh, well, then we're slacking or then we're comparing to someone else. So have you ever taken time off or vacation or done a deload and found it beneficial to your journey in the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. I just did a deload not too long ago. I took a trip to Mexico with my husband. So, that was nice. I didn't go to the gym the whole week. I didn't track anything. And it was nice. It was really nice. It was definitely needed. I tend to be, a very rigid, disciplined person. And I think it's good for my relationship, even with my husband, for our relationship, just to be able to kick back and just like put it all aside and just focus on each other for a little bit. So, yeah, so that was definitely helpful. And we took a trip with the kids actually 2 weeks later to Florida, and I kind of did the same thing again. So, this is one of the struggles at this level of being an elite athlete, but also having a family is, I want my kids to be inspired. I want my kids to see that I work hard and that, if you have a dream, you can work hard and accomplish it. But I also don't want them to see, a mom who's so rigid and like doesn't have fun. You know what I mean? Like I want them, I know balance isn't really a great word for bodybuilding, but like when you have kids, there is an extra element there, like, so I have to be really careful about how hardcore I am, because I don't want them to feel like they need to be that way, because they're still kids, they need to sort of figure out what they want for themselves. They don't have to do it exactly like I do, because I'm going to be honest, this isn't normal at this level. It's not like, this isn't lifestyle necessarily. Like there is lifestyle and there's a great way to do that. But like, at this level, when you're kind of eating the same things every day or eating so many times a day, like I am right now, that's not necessarily behavior that they need to exactly emulate. So I try to not draw too much attention to that.
How do you do that?
Like I let them, I'm not rigid with how they eat. Like I teach, like there's not one meal that we can sit down at and I'm like, oh, look, yes, you eat your blueberries. This is what that does for you. That's going to help you, your immune system. And so they kind of get sick of me like trying to teach them. So that's why I put it in there. But I allow them to have, the fun foods or, not all the time, but like I allow them to eat differently than I do. I allow them to pursue the things that they want to do, Some of them like to play video games, fine. Or they want to have a piece of Easter candy, fine. Just give me 20 jumping jacks. Like I'll do little things like that where I try to like, keep a little bit of fun in with it so they do what they want to do, but I'm still kind of trying to influence them in a way for, health and their overall fitness. It's hard. It's hard right now. I'm telling you, with like the video games and just the way that it is for kids right now, it's hard to keep their attention when like all this, there's so many media distractions and there's so much junk food out there and all the friends have it as well. Like you have to be able to like bend a little bit. So it's, it's not easy, but I'm trying.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing the best you can and you're doing a good job of teaching them. And honestly, I feel like the most important thing is that the choices we make are empowered, educated, and fulfilling, regardless of, anything else. Because if someone's like, oh, you can only eat this, and that's because mom only eats this, well, they're not going to want to do that in 5 years. But if it's like, what do you choose? That's very different. And it's such a freeing energy. And I think it's great that you're able to, like I said, incorporate that education of like why certain foods are really good for their body. That's a cool way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying, and they're very, especially my youngest, like they're very open to information, and they soak things up that you don't even realize. Like the facts that they can spit out at me, I'm like, what? How do you know this? So, so when I can, I try to I'll throw out some facts about whatever we're doing or they're eating, and eventually they'll ignore me, but I'm trying.
Definitely. And how old are your kids?
They're 8, 10, and 13.
That's cool.
All girls, yeah.
Wow. How does your husband feel?
He loves it. He really loves being a girl dad. So.
Aw. Yeah, my dad used to always say, I'm surrounded by estrogen. And then we had this like boy dog, and he would just be like, it's okay because I've got Oreo. And it was so funny, but
we have a boy dog too, so that's balanced.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you mentioned sometimes it can be hard and you have to bend a little bit. And I'm always curious with parents or parents of peers to your children, if you've ever felt judged by them or judged by people around you because your lifestyle it's not even, like you said, necessarily fitness, health, lifestyle. It's a more of an elite approach. Mm-hmm. So do you ever get judgment or find it hard to communicate with people about that?
I mean, if I do, that's all on me because I don't really pay attention. I haven't had anybody say anything to me or anything. But I'm sure it's out there. But if anything, I've like kids in my daughter's class have been like, "Oh, your mom looks like she's 20 or something." I'm like, "Oh, thanks."
That's awesome.
I know that there's stuff out there, but I don't really pay attention. So I haven't had any bad experiences with other parents that I can think of, to be honest. So nice. I guess I'm really fortunate there.
That's great. And I know you brought up your husband earlier too, and connecting with him on vacation. And I think talking about family is really important. And sometimes, a lot of times with this sport, we can get pretty exhausted towards the tail end of a prep, and we can get pretty focused on what we need to do. So has that ever made you feel like you're sacrificing family or your relationship?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a big struggle. Is just, because he doesn't do bodybuilding. I sometimes, if I'm honest, I can look at different, athletes who, their partner does it too. I'm like, oh wow, that must be so easy. They can relate to each other. But, at the same time, I really appreciate the fact that he doesn't do it because he kind of keeps a sense of humor, in our household. He doesn't get hangry and crabby. I'm not saying that I always do, but when I get, edgy, you can, or anxious or whatever, he's just always there to, keep me calm and keep it lighthearted and make me laugh. And, he travels to all my shows with me. He's my tan boy. I've never gotten to spray tan. He does my tan and he does a great job. And I think, he really enjoys being a part of all of this. And, I really appreciate the way that it's set up with us. So
I feel the same way about my boyfriend. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you could totally do it. I'm like, but don't do that because it's different. He does powerlifting, but he's my tanning guy too. It's so funny. He's so into it as well. I'll give him the mitts and because I use the Pro Tan, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure it's perfect. And he buffs things out better than me. He'll look.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Yeah, he gets into it. He'll be on his knees, checking every angle. I'm like, damn, okay, you're hired. He's my designated
That's exactly
tanner.
how my husband. Yes, that's exactly how Ryan is.
That's so cool. Doesn't it make you feel so supported too?
I am so supported. Yeah, definitely. I've told him before. I mean, I would not have gotten to where I am without him. So yeah, there's a good support system there, and I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And how do you foresee bodybuilding influencing your life moving forward? Like, do you plan to be in this for a long time? Do you see it impacting anything else?
So I think I've had to sort of change my why, my perspective on, the future with it. It's become less for me about like the goal of winning, and like I just like improving. So yeah, I want to win eventually. But I really enjoy improving, and even if I stop winning, I continue to improve. So that's motivating for me. I don't really know other than that, like, where it's going to go. Like, I definitely have some personal goals for myself. And I'm not sure how long they're going to take to achieve, but I'm here for it.
Yes. And what are some of those personal goals?
Well, I would definitely like to get first call out in a pro show.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the next, goal for me, is to work my way there, and then to win a pro show eventually. So I have some work to do, but I'm not afraid of it. It's a process, it's a journey. It kind of reveals lots of, areas with your character even that you need to fix. Like it's all just very, I don't know, it's very deep. It goes so much deeper than just like physical, like it's so revealing every time I go through a prep or even an improvement season, sometimes even more so an improvement season. Just man, it just brings out like all the character flaws right out of you, and you have to confront so much. So I have a lot of growth to do. I'm not afraid to say that, mentally and physically. So this is like exactly, what my purpose is. So I'm here for it.
That's amazing. I cannot agree more. I mean, that's why my business is called Build More Than Just a Body, because that's really what we do in this sport. And I think that if we're open to those lessons and seeing those areas for growth, we can make it so much further. But if we just go on
Yeah.
autopilot and we shut out and we don't honor the feelings, emotions, or those passing thoughts that can actually be very revealing, like you said, we probably will miss out on the things that are actually being shown to us to support our growth. But if we see them and we recognize them and we can assess or maybe process them, I think we always come out better for that.
Right. Absolutely.
So I want to talk about two other parts of your life. So one being that in most of your teens and young adult life before finding bodybuilding, you had struggled with anorexia. And we've talked about eating disorders on this show. And a lot of the times people will say bodybuilding really saved them and changed their relationship with their body and food, and started seeing food with more purpose. And I think other people have the belief that bodybuilding leads to disordered eating, or can, and I'm not going to argue for or against either. I'm just really wanting to hear your take on how you feel the lifestyles between bodybuilding and an eating disorder such as anorexia differ, and how they might relate.
That's interesting. I think it really depends on the person. I like when you say that, I try to like imagine myself like becoming anorexic from the sport, and I don't think it would work that way for me, just because to succeed in this sport I've had to eat a lot more than on my own I ever allowed myself to eat. So that's been one of the, like when I was talking earlier about having to go through things that are, you're afraid of, like gaining weight purposefully and eating an amount of food that I know will make me gain weight. That was hard, but I trusted that this was the means to the end, and I've only been rewarded for following that. As far as like my struggle with anorexia, that was when I was like, I believe it started around when I was 14 or 15. And for a couple of years, it was pretty severe. I was competitive gymnast prior to that. And when I stopped competing, I didn't really know what to do with myself. So it was a way of controlling, and I think that that's common. It was a way of just kind of maintaining some sort of control. It went pretty hard, and it was, I was hospitalized twice for it. I just say by the grace of God, I survived that. I know there's a lot of people praying for me, and I don't think there was any sort of like moment or trick where I snapped out of it. It's such a gradual process. And, thankfully as an adult, I haven't struggled with it. I think there's a lot of things from that negative experience that have become positives for me. Like, you take like becoming this like human encyclopedia of like what food values are and everything. That's actually ended up helping me, when I'm, pulling together meal plans and macros and whatever. So it's just, I can now use that in a positive way. But I can see how it could go both ways. I think it depends on like the personality of the individual.
Yeah, I think personality, perspective, goals, past experiences, how much commitment there is to a healing process as well, definitely plays a big role. And I love how you shifted your perspective from like, oh, this is a curse to know all of this, to be like, no, this can now benefit me, rather than it being something that controlled my every move and made me feel this way. It's going to help me to feel better and stronger and bigger and more muscular and better athlete.
Right.
That's really
cool. I mean, I think bodybuilding, it's really helped me like to have a better relationship with my body and food. Like I've learned that I can eat more than 1,200 or 1,400 calories a day. While I was not, anorexic as an adult, like I still was eating. I knew how many calories I was eating a day, and it wasn't a lot, and I think I was afraid to eat more than that. And this has just really helped me to kind of see that there's another way, like you can do this and you can still, it's not as bad as like what you might be fearing it is. In fact, it's better. Like I feel like a more vibrant person, now that I've gained weight and that I'm doing this. So I definitely have much higher self-esteem and self-confidence. So yeah, I think it's been a great thing. And I sometimes think, I wish I would have found it when I was younger, because it would have helped me to like funnel that need to control my food in a healthier way, like being taught, like my coaches have taught me. I've had to trust them, and that's been a really powerful experience for me, beneficial,
That's really cool. I love hearing about those experiences and those types of shifts too, because it also helps with perspective that we're not ever stuck in, we don't have to be stuck in what once was for us. Like that doesn't have to be an ongoing story. Or if you are stuck in something right now, it doesn't have to be your story forever. Like there are ways through it.
Right.
Do you have anything else you want to? Yeah. Did you say probably a better way through?
Yeah, probably a better way. Like a lot of times I think that we're so focused on, the way that we've done it or what we're afraid of. And like, when you're so focused on what you're afraid of, you can't see your potential, And so I think that's where I was for a long time. I was just like trying to, not gain weight or trying to, keep doing what I knew. And, sometimes if you just let go and like find an expert, like you don't have to do it by yourself. Like I always tell people who are trying, like, don't try to figure this out by yourself. I didn't figure this out by myself. I still haven't gotten it figured out, but like the progress that I've made was not because I decided to be super disciplined. Like I sought out a coach and I started working with a coach who told me to do things that I wouldn't have thought to do. I wouldn't have wanted to do, But I decided, you know, when you hire somebody, you sort of have a little bit of a financial investment in it too, so you better get the most of it. But I just trust that person, you know, and I think that's where growth and progress happens. You just have to like step outside of like what you know and what you think. Like you got to put your pride down a little bit.
Yes, being willing to make those changes and trusting someone who you've paid or you've hired and invested in, that they can help you, and going in on that process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, before becoming a stay-at-home mom, you were working in the corporate world, and I was wondering how transitioning out of that and into full mom role impacted how you see yourself or how you see life.
You know, to be honest with you, I had like these like vague dreams of like working in the fashion industry and whatever, which is kind of why I got the degree that I did. And I ended up doing retail buying for a couple of major retail corporations. And it just wasn't for me. You know, eventually I found myself sitting behind a computer screen, crunching a lot of numbers and working in Excel spreadsheets. And I was commuting 60 miles each way to work. And it was draining me. It was draining the life out of me. And, you know, I had my first daughter, and my husband is a real estate broker. So he has the ability to work from home. So after I had my first daughter, he stayed home with her after, you know, my maternity leave was up, and I went back to work. And I just had this feeling like this just isn't right. You know, I feel like I'm away from where I'm supposed to be. And we went that way for a while. And then I had my second daughter. And after that maternity leave, I just made the decision I'm not going back. We made the decision together. It wasn't just me, but made the decision, you know, that I'm going to stay home. And that was so much more fulfilling to me. Before, let's see, that would have been 2013. So for that, from 2013 to 2017, I was just a straight stay-at-home mom, and I loved every minute of it. Like, I'm really thankful for those years, you know, that I got to be right there with my kids every day. And, you know, so those years are really precious to me. And then, you know, this is sort of like the next chapter, you know, when the kids get a little bit bigger and it's like they don't need you for every little thing anymore. The timing of this was really nice. Like I found something now where I can kind of, again, work at something, you know, because I always want to work at something. I'm a very goal-driven person. And so it kind of gave me a new purpose again. So the transition was very smooth. It was everything, you know, seems to be happening the way that it's supposed to happen. So
That's such a great feeling.
yeah.
So it seems like that was really, like you said, just natural for you. And my next question is very random, just kind of out of curiosity, but do you do you have an opinion or take on fitness, fashion, and marketing now, given you previously studied that and worked in that industry? Obviously, maybe it wasn't fitness fashion, but I was curious if you had an opinion on it.
I'm not sure I understand your question as far as fitness fashion. Like,
you know, leggings or companies selling like sports bras, leggings, just fitness apparel. Like, do you have any take on that?
oh, honestly, like deep in my heart, like one of my dreams is to one day have my own fitness apparel line.
Wow.
Other than that, yeah, no, I love fitness. I love fitness fashion. Unfortunately, that is not what I was buying for. I did buy fitness equipment for a while. So, but other than that, I bought men's shoes when I worked in corporate, and then women's sportswear. So, you know, I didn't get a lot of hands-on with fitness apparel, but I do love fitness apparel.
That's awesome. I love that you want to do that one day for yourself. Like, how do you envision that happening? Like, would you be designing it? Would you be working with, I mean, you don't have to disclose all of this, but now I'm just curious.
No, yes and yes. I don't even think I've ever told anybody that before, to be honest with you. But like, that's always that's something that's always been in my head. And I would want to be a part of the whole production of all of it, I think, there's part of like branding yourself, to do that as well. So I don't know, long-term goal, I don't have like any footwork going right now for that, but yeah, that's definitely there. You just dug that out of the back of my brain.
That's so cool. I'm glad that I asked that question and we got to hear that dream of yours. So
Funny.
I don't think I have anything else that I was going to ask you. I mean, we covered everything I had, but is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'm going to ask you to give your best advice for people who have never competed before but would like to, and then your best advice for competitors on their road to pro.
Okay. For people who have never competed before but would like to, for you, I would say find a coach who you trust, first of all. That relationship's pretty important. And then your process is going to be probably very different than what you would imagine. Like that first, before you've ever done it, you might be like, I don't know about that, but like you just have to trust the process and know that if you trust your coach, you're going to come in the way that you should. And that first show, that's an experiment too. So, for both of you. So I wouldn't have too high of expectations for your first show. Just, do your best, have fun, and, learn from it, get some feedback. And then, if you enjoyed the process, then, go back to the drawing board and work on what you can and go again. And some people will find that, this isn't for me. So, just keep an open mind when you're going through that first prep, but commit to it, whether halfway through you're like, I don't know about this, just commit to it, just finish it out, see how you do, and then go from there. As far as people on the road to pro, just don't give up, just keep working, keep getting the feedback, generally it's keep growing, but for me that was always the feedback, but just make sure you learn something from every show or you improve something. There's always something to improve. I think one thing that changed, as my progression of shows is like that confidence. Once you can be on stage and you feel comfortable and confident, that's when you're going to best present your body, what you've worked on, and I think that's when the judges are going to best be able to see not just like the shape that you've worked on, but they're going to be able to see your personality and your poise. So definitely work on, confidence, and then you just have to have a resilient mindset too. Don't give up, believe in yourself, and keep at it. It'll happen when it's your time.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing all your insights and experiences and advice and your goals and dreams with us too. I want everyone to be able to continue to connect with you and learn from you. So can you let everybody know how they can find you?
Oh, sure. I'm on Instagram primarily. So I'm at Brooke Petry, my name, _fit.
Okay. I'm going to make sure to put that in the show notes. So you guys, all the notes, topics covered, timestamps as well. So if you heard something and you want to go back and listen to it, and of course, Brooke's Instagram, that's all going to be on celestial.fit/podcast. If you're listening right away, the episode's going to be at the top of that page. If you're listening in the future, just scroll down to the categories section and it's all alphabetized by names of the guests there. So that way you can find it in the future and know what to tell other people to look out for when they go to listen to it. I do appreciate your time, Brooke, and I'm so grateful that we got to connect today.
Yeah, thank you, Celeste. Thanks for having me.
Of course, you're so welcome. And to everybody listening, hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.